All right, here we go. Hi. Here we go. 8 ball. What are we talking about? 8 ball. Okay. I've been talking about this, and Jolie and I were talking about it the other night, and I'm like, Jolie, that's really good. Can I make a podcast on that? And of course he said yes, so here we are. So this is Jolie's idea. It's just a way to explain the same thing that I've been talking about. So I've talked a lot about stop shooting your balls in. We don't shoot them till we get them kind of in position to where they're able to be ran. They're material for us, like chess. We want those pieces on the board. We're trying to get to a position in 8-ball where they have 2 balls left that are tied up and they've shut off their 5 easy ones. And now we have control of the game for there. We have blockers to block them. We have balls that are in front of the pockets so that we have access to shoot them in if needed, to get on another ball, to put them in a tough position to play safety, because there's certain ways we can position the balls. We've talked about in other videos where it can be almost impossible to not leave a shot. So these are the concepts, right? So those are the concepts we've covered, and I just wanted to talk about Jolie's thing that he told me. And basically what he's saying is, basically he watches a lot of pool. He watches in leagues, talking about like beginner to intermediate, some advanced pool. Same with me. And we were talking about patterns, right? And I'm a pattern guy. So, pool patterns, of course, but I'm more a pattern. Like, I see patterns of behavior. I see patterns in industry. I see patterns in relationships, in life, socially, everything. I see all kinds of patterns, and that's kind of my thing. And Jolie was saying, well, he sees a pattern in the way people play pool. And they try to run out, right? And that's why I say stop shooting your balls in. People are trying to run out. And what happens is they want to run the balls for multiple different reasons, right? They think that that's correct. They think that that's the goal, run racks. They see professional players running racks, all that stuff. They have to get the balls off the table so they could shoot the 8-ball in and win. Understandable. But what happens is the pattern that I'm talking about, and the pattern that Joel sees and he's talking to me about, is the pattern of taking care of all your easy stuff and then running up to your trouble and then scrambling to deal with your trouble. And basically what Joel's saying is we need to flip it. We need to have the opposite of that, basically. That it's backwards. That we are going to get to run the balls just like we want to at the beginning when they're open. We just have to be a little more patient. Meaning, for Jolie, he just had like an epiphany and said, wait a second, really all you're asking me to do, he needs to do, or all I do, or what I'm trying to teach him and teach you guys, is that you're going to get to run the balls. You're just going to run them when they're good to go, okay? You're not going to run them before then. And you need to be a little patient. And so let's say that statistically most beginner to intermediate, and some advanced player games statistically come down to one person has tried to run the rack and they fall short, okay? Either 2 balls, 1 ball, or the 8-ball, or some sort of combination of that. And the other person has their balls on the table. Well, if that is statistically what's happening, and if that's the common occurrence, then that's a pattern. And so what Joel is saying, and what he's suggesting, what I'm suggesting, is that we just flip the pattern, okay? And we have a new pattern of playing pool where we deal with those items first. So it might be that instead of start running balls, we push a group of balls so that our ball can be made into a pocket or several pockets. And we just wait a minute and we play more of a containing safety or a safety. A containing safety is when they have access to their balls, but they don't have much they can do from there, right? And so you can do a containing safety right after break. I could break a rack of 8-ball and I could do a containing safety. I also could bait my opponent, meaning if I want solids because they're a superior group and I'm playing a run out player, person that can run 5, 6, 7 balls if they're open, but they can't run a rack where there's 2 or 3 trouble balls, but I want them to get into the spot where they've ran off 4 or 5 of their balls. Well, I can bait them by just leaving them a shot on the group that I don't want, and most likely they'll take the shot, make the wrong group because they're not thinking strategically and they're thinking about running out, and they think that, you know, well, I see these guys run out of the time, I'll run out too, but they don't have the cue ball for it, they don't have the shot selection, they don't have the execution, they don't have the pattern, the pattern of which order to shoot them in, things like that. They'll try to run the easy ones out first, they'll leave their trouble for last, so they'll turn the table over with 4 of their balls gone and 2 or 3 left in the 8 ball. So if that's the case, then all I want to do is, like, to me this makes sense. Like all I've done, or all I do, is I take care of my trouble first, meaning I don't even start shooting the balls in until the trouble's taken care of. That's it, unless I see paths to deal with those issues, right? And it's so simple. And what Joel's saying is just flip that. If you're a pool player, and just know that you're gonna get to run out those 5, 6, 7 balls, but not right away. You just have to be a little patient. You just have to wait. It's gonna be the same situation. Instead of you running them all out and then dealing with your 2 balls at a disadvantaged position, we're just gonna flip it. And we're just gonna start and deal with our 2 balls at the beginning of the rack before we shoot in the rest of the balls. And then once we've dealt with them and they're open or they're gone off the table or whatever, then we'll start running balls when they're open. And that's just it. I don't know how to say it any different, but I really thought that was cool to flip the paradigm or the approach to the game. So instead of coming to and this is what I do, I'm sorry, I'll give an example of it too. But this is how I play 8 ball, and this is what I'm trying to teach 8 ball. It's just the whole flipping it, the strategy flip is what I wanted to share with you guys, because that sort of tickled my brain and made sense. And I thought that's a really smart way of saying it, Joel. And so I wanted to share it with you guys. But so I typically, when I'm playing competitively in 8 ball, if I break, I'm trying to find out if I can run them or not. So I look at the rack and I look at trouble, I look at lanes, I look at block pockets, I look at congestion, I look at clusters, I look at zones, I look at all the things that I'm teaching in these soon to be run out videos. It's dropping soon to a YouTube channel near you. But that's what I'm teaching, is I'm looking for clusters, I'm looking for problems like breakouts, I'm looking for stop roll patterns, I'm looking for zone patterns, I'm looking for clearing my trouble first. I'm looking for all these elements, and then I'm just sort of like seeing these things, and then I'm searching all the patterns in my head of like the mathematical patterns and probabilities, and then I'm making my decisions around that. But my first concern is, of course I'm a run out player, I want to run the rack, but if I see that there's too many flags, there's too many problems and I can't run out, then I immediately switch to, I got to deal with my problems before I start running balls. And it's just, to me, it's like, Michael McDermott says, well, he walks by a poker game and he reads all 5 players at the table, which is pretty funny. He says it's like breathing, So I'm not trying to be a douche. I'm just saying, to me, when I see a table, it's just kind of like breathing to me. I look and I think, when's it ready? Kind of how I see 8 ball when I'm playing is that I just know what a runnable rack looks like. And so when I come to the table, if I know what a runnable rack looks like, I know pretty much immediately what a non-runnable rack looks like. So if I'm doing those they're not corny, they're cool, but like break and run with my break cue. If I break and I break, and within probably 1 or 2 seconds, I know whether or not I'm gonna have a chance. And sometimes I'll break and I'll just be like, man, it's like I'd have to have 4 breakout shots, and I'm like, well, I'll try just for fun, but I know that it's probably not gonna happen. And And I'm just saying, like, that's how I see the game. And what I'm trying to say is that because of that, when I break and I get to the table, a lot of times the racks aren't runnable, so then I'll have to come up with an alternate plan right away. And my alternate plan is not shoot my balls in and start shooting. Sometimes my alternate plan is I'm gonna play a safety and just let them have at it. I'll gamble that they're not getting out, right? That's even if I was playing someone that's, you know, depending on the level of difficulty of the run. If I broke and saw, you could break and show me a rack, and I could tell you within, you know, a certain amount of Fargo points how comfortable I'd be letting a person to the table, you know. So letting like a TJ to the table, who's a local champ, a friend of mine, plays 755. He's a bar table specialist. He's an 8-ball crusher. It's like there's certain racks where I just know I don't want to let TJ to the table, so I got problems. But then I've also played TJ in a 10-ball tournament where he had me sewn up, and I had to push a ball to just force him to shoot a combo later in the rack, and it wasn't much, but it was enough. He ended up missing the combo, and I won the game, and I ended up, you know, it worked out really well. So sometimes, you know, even with TJ, who's an absolute wizard, I'll let him to the table because the math says this is the best play I have. Me kicking 2 rails at something and ineffectually hitting the ball and just selling out because all the lanes are open, not the best. If I push down the 8 in front of the 7 and I make him shoot a combo and I give distance and I know the table's kind of tight and all that in this venue we were playing, at this pool room, and I know that it can be missed, then that's my best chance, you know? And so that's kind of, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm always running those percentages, and I'm looking at tables and I'm thinking, what's possible to run? And if it's not possible, I'll just do what I said. I'll bait them to play. I'll let them choose the group. I'll have them shoot the balls off the table, whatever. I'm comfortable because I know that if they're 10% or 5% or 4% or 3% to run out the rack, even because they're so tied up, like they can go ahead and hit their, you know, 4 cards or something. I'm totally fine with it. And then the other thing is, that's why I can be patient, I guess, is because I guess what I'm saying is, like, I see the patterns, I understand it, even to the point where I can break when the balls are moving and kind of tell whether or not the rack's over by the time the balls stop moving. So because of that, I also know how to, like, slow it down and be patient when the rack's not runnable, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'll tell you a story, and then we'll hang it up. I went out to this tournament. I've told this in other areas, but this is such a new thing. Like, the great thing about this channel is I get to tell these stories all again because they're good stories. They're good stories to learn from. Like, so I go to this tournament and we're playing a 3-man tournament. We're in these bars over in Wisconsin, and I signed up for this tournament. And one of the members of the club and a young kid was like 15 or 16. Nice kid, and he wanted to play on a team with us and this other guy that was a club member, and they asked me to play, and I'm like, okay, let's go. And it was really cool because that was the beginning of me starting teaching 8-ball, was that tournament. I made a whole clinic off of that tournament because I watched that tournament and I was just like, hadn't been in a bar table after 8-ball tournament forever, and I was like, oh my gosh, like even at like the 630, 640 level, these guys were not understanding like strategy. They were just shooting their balls in and getting hooked and everything, and they were just impatient and just real aggressive and stuff. And so anyways, what happened was we were at this tournament, and it's the first round of the tournament, and it's the first match, and I get put up first out of 3 players on our team. And I'm playing the other team's best player. He was mid-high 600s, and which is fine. And so we're playing on shitty valley tables, honestly, in a bar in Wisconsin. And I'm like, all right, let's just go. Let's see what happens. Didn't even consider anything other than I'm just gonna see what happens. So the guy breaks the balls, and they were super tied up. And I didn't have a shot. There's no way I'm running the rack. And it was the first match. So I just played a safety. I didn't shoot a ball in. I didn't do anything. I just played safe. And I just left him really not much. And then he played a safety, and then I played a safety. And it was like, I kept trying to get him to start shooting by leaving him just enough. So I was kind of baiting him. And after like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 safeties, it was like, there was like tension with my teammates. And I kind of looked over at them, and they were like, you know, well, when are you going to shoot a ball in? And I'm like, well, I didn't come to shoot balls in. I came to win this game because we need to win this game to try to win this match. So it was just funny because I probably spent 5 or 10 minutes just nudging the balls around and not doing much and letting the guy shoot off a ball here and a ball there until we were in that 6-2 position, and then I ran out and won the game. And it was funny because there was like this energy or excitement from my teammates because they were like, we got the 700, you know, we got the guy, he's going to come in, he's going to shoot lightning bolts, watch this. And I'm there, and it's the first game, and I'd never played with these guys before in a tournament, and they were just expecting me to just rain hell. And I'm like, well, this game didn't call for it. Like, he broke and the balls were clustered, and I'm like, I'm going to play this game against this guy, and I'm going to win this game for us. That's really what my main concern is. So I'm just relaying that. That's where it really hit me how people view the game of 8-ball. Like mostly they view it as a run out game, and they don't view it as a patience game. And to the point where it was really uncomfortable for the guys on my team to sit and watch me not shoot balls in. And it was kind of like this energy where it's like, well, when are you going to do the pro shit? And it's like, well, this is the pro shit. And I don't know, it's not always sexy. It's just sometimes making the right decisions. And that's it. So I just wanted to kind of share that story and share Joel-e's thing and you know, talk a little bit more about 8-ball and try to encourage you guys to say, you know, the pro shit is clearing your 2 problem balls before you start shooting balls, and that's the easiest way to put it, you know? I mean, I have a video where I ended up running out. It was a break and run with my BK Rush, and I ended up running out, and my last shot was a breakout on the 8, and in the video, I'm like, man, I don't even want to post this because this ain't even like that great. But it was fine because I look at that video and you can see where I passed on the obvious sort of shot for a different pattern. And I really like the pattern that I played in that video because the right play in that situation was to do what I did, because, and I explained in the video, is if I would have broke it out earlier, the angle that I had and the things that I was trying to do, I wouldn't have got a shot on any of the last balls. So once I was shooting balls, and I only have like a microsecond to make these decisions, seriously, because I'm trying to run out in a minute or less, and maybe it's a minute and a half now, but it's a microsecond to make decisions. So I look at it in a microsecond and I'm like, it's trouble. It's trouble to deal with this 2-ball that was in the video to hit into the 8 with 2 more balls on the table. It's just, I'm not likely to get a shot. So if I shoot this ball down here, there was a 5, and then there was a 7 up in the corner, and then I had shape on the 2 at the last ball or something like that. And it was like, it sort of made sense. The balls connected in such a way that I was more stop roll, and I actually had a perfect angle on, I was having really nice angles to get to where I wanted, and I had to break out my stuff last, which is fine. But most of the time, honestly, the way I do it is I rip and I run. Meaning, if I know there's a trouble ball, I am going to shoot at that trouble ball right away. I mean, within one shot. Like when I broke that rack, I knew there was a 15 that was trouble. Or maybe there's a different rack. Maybe there's a whole different rack. There's a different game, sorry, but I did 3 in one day. And the other one was, I tried to get on my 15 right away. Get on my 15 right away. I got to get it out of there. And it wasn't even like tied up. It just was like clustered. And so when I see a cluster, or I see a ball that doesn't really have obvious paths or obvious places to get to, and there's kind of blocked, I want to get that open and get that open, or get the balls open around it and create space and get rid of the cluster and deal with the cluster and deal with the ball that's kind of, congested. So the congestion is different than clusters. Clusters are different than, breakouts and things. But like, this is what I'm looking at. And I'm just constantly trying to rip and run. If I'm going to try to run the balls, it's going to be ripping and running, meaning I'm going to shoot the first shot to just rip the rack open or rip open a pack of balls, and then I'm going to hope it comes out good. I'm going to try to plan and detail it. And then if it comes out good, I'm just going to, run them out in order. I mean, as far as like as efficiently as I can. But if I miss my breakout, the more I don't just keep shooting in balls. So my pattern is not like super obvious when I have balls that need to get broken out, because I'm going to start shooting balls that get me to break that out and get me to break that out. So it's like, if we're going to play run out pool, we need to play rip and run, meaning we're running the balls out, less about the details of stop, roll and things like that, and more about getting to our trouble and staying on our trouble and trying to get our trouble free. So it's just, man, it's got really detailed about run out games. So sorry. Hopefully it's not too much to take in. And obviously, once we get these run out series together, you guys will be able to understand more about what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, I would just say, if you get a chance, watch these 60-second runouts with the break cue, because I'm using all of those run out videos that I'm going to be releasing. God, it's so funny. I'm using all of that information and all of that pattern stuff in my head, and I'm just running it in a minute and a minute and a minute, and I'm running those out. And it's fun to do those, because that's mostly those runouts in a minute are, it's just such a fast, detailed calculation of the concepts of stop, roll, pattern, clusters, congestion, clearing your trouble first, and zone. Those are the 5 things that I'm teaching in those run out series. Like, all of those 5 things are always just sort of shifted and moved and shifted, and like the order that I see them in, they all have a value, but then some of them are more important depending on how much trouble I have and what trouble I have to deal with. So it's like, that's it. So clearing your trouble first can be like super critical, and a stop, roll, pattern can be super critical. But if I run out 2 or 3 balls, and like in the one break rack I had, I broke into my stuff within 2 or 3 balls, and then they ended up tying up the 8. So then I'm like, okay, now the 8 ball's tied up and has an obvious break ball, but I just don't want to go into it right now, because it's not going to lead to me being able to clear out the last 2 solids. I'm just going to leave that for last, even though that's not ideal. When you put it in the algorithmic, like, computer figure out deal, you just come up with, now's not the time. I'm going to have to shoot these 2, come back and have that be my breakout last, and yeah. But most of the time I'm, the stuff kind of falls into place, clearing your trouble, congestion, breakouts, things like that, stop, roll, patterns, zones, like, it all sort of fits together. But what I'll tell you about that series, and about when you guys work on that series, when we get it going, is that it's not about just learning the concepts and trying to make these runouts on these sheets. It's not even about trying to make the runouts. Even it is important from like a physics and geometry and strategy standpoint, but it becomes like physics and geometry when you're just trying to run it out. But we need to have you figure out the mental part of it, meaning, how do these patterns work and what is the value of doing these things? And then the biggest thing is to be, how do you sort when you break a rack of 8 ball? First of all, you got to understand all 5 of these concepts, and you got to understand them really well, and you got to be able to execute them pretty well. And then you got to be able to sort them, and you got to be able to put them in the right order and blend them. And that's what's really tricky. So, but it's a fun puzzle, and it's a fun path, and I'm just hoping that I can help people through that process, because that's basically what I'm doing. I break the balls, and then I almost instantaneously can see kind of like the 5 elements of how to run out a rack, and then I can kind of sort them in order, and then I can just pick up my BK rush and go and get them done in like a minute usually. And it's because I have these concepts down cold, and because I can see them, then I can see them quickly when the balls are out. I see the pattern quick, or at least the recognition of the overall patterns. Not the exact number, not exactly which order to hit them and all that stuff exactly right away, but I see the pattern of the lanes and the things I talked about. So that's what I'm trying to do. And it's like, man, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's too much, you know, like that type of approach and detail is kind of a lot. But then I think, no, because I have 4 videos and 4 sheets for every concept out of the 5. And so if a person patiently goes through and learns these concepts and they really like ingrain them, they should be able to recognize them when they come up. And then if they recognize them, they should be able to sort them in order of importance based on, you know, what you see in the rack. Knowing that the most important thing is, back to the beginning of what we're talking about in this video, is that it's typically clearing your trouble is number one, honestly. It takes precedent over stop roll, it takes precedent over zone, it takes precedent over, you know, it's more related to clusters and breakouts and clearing your trouble. So those are like the 3 concepts that are like really kind of almost in the order of importance. They're like the first things I look for is that. And then I look at it and think, okay, well, once we get that, then how do we run them when they're open? And that's where you look at zones and you look at stop roll, right? And that's it. That's kind of it. So yeah, it's cool. I'm sorry, I get really interested in this, and I hope I'm explaining it well. And I'm just trying to like share with you guys, like I really, really, really want to, you know, help you guys in this game. And I want to help you, you know, like this whole thing that I'm doing is like it's like a Trojan horse to bring, like, you know, being accepting, having gratitude, finding, you know, some peace in being like present when you're training, and then being able to bring that into your life. Like this is really what I want to do with this channel, and that's what I think I'm doing, and that's what makes me feel like meaning and purpose. But at the same time, I want you guys to win, I want you guys to get better, and I want you guys to learn, you know. And I'm a freak for patterns, and I'm a freak for puzzles, I guess, but patterns especially. Like it makes it kind of obnoxious to be my friend, because I see patterns in behavior, I see patterns in everything. And, you know, I don't know, it's just, if I see stuff going on, I'm just not afraid to point it out and just say, you know, here's a pattern that I see, whether it's good or bad. And sometimes that's tough for people in real life, right? So I guess I got a little Rain Man to me that I didn't realize. So yeah, but I'm trying to teach you guys how to do it. That's it. And hoping that you can maybe find some value in it, you know, start figuring this stuff out with me. So, okay, that's it. Love you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.